Hey everyone, welcome to the Cast and Spear podcast. My name is John, and today we have a very important person for us all to enjoy. Her name is actually Joy. She goes by Spearo Joy on Instagram. It's Joy Rika. She is an amazing speara and one that I've been following for quite a long time. Over the past year, she's just been crushing it in the community. Hey Joy, nice to have you on.
Hey, thank you so much, John. It's awesome.
So
I remember the
today
first
we're
time I
gonna.
met you. Yeah,
What's that? What was
because I
that?
remember the first time I met you. It was like very early on.
Yeah, we met at the OC
OC
Spiro's
Spearos.
bonfire. Like, was that right before COVID shut down everything, or was it the first one after?
It was the first one after because I started spearfishing only after COVID.
Relatively new, but crushing the game,
Yeah.
which is awesome. So, in this episode today, guys, we're going to be talking about spearfishing, especially what in Joy's past has helped her just excel super quickly at spearfishing. So, Joy, what's in your past that's kind of made you just excel quickly?
So I think one of the things is that I have a personal training background, so it's always very physical. So it made that wanting to do something really physical during the pandemic kind of an interesting hobby. Also yoga, because I've been a yoga therapist for a few years and yoga teacher for 15 years now. Knowing how to control the mind, control the breath, control the body in a very specific way allowed me to just dive in and just start experimenting and playing with the sport.
Now, going into some of the stuff around yoga, because I've done a lot of hot yoga back in the day, and I'm actually just now getting back in now that COVID's over to do some yin yoga. I'm generally a really tight person. What is the tightness of my body like preventing me from achieving at depth?
Well, in your lungs, I'd say you if you're feeling tight, you just won't be able to press down like any further. You're going to feel that tightness in your chest, right? And even with just recovery, if you feel tight, if you're not stretching, if you did a shore dive and you're coming back out and you're kind of sore and you don't do that stretching, you might feel like it takes longer to recover. So I think stretching after you spearfish and doing a little bit of warm up, it's going to help you have more longevity in the sport.
Now, before you go, say I want to go on a dive this evening, are you doing anything pre-dive, or do you kind of just go and stretch afterwards or do some mobility afterwards? Do you ever do any pre-work?
I think my pre work is that I do have my morning routines where I do have my breath work practice and my yoga practice that is just part of my daily routine, something that I incorporate into my lifestyle. I think I am a little bit older than people realize that I am, so it's kind of useful to have recovery tools in my pocket, and that's a lot of it is actually what I teach in that program. My breathe deep technique in how to properly condition your body with dynamic apnea workouts, just like my personal training background, and then with yoga and stretching and what they call pranayama and breathwork practices. So all the breathwork practices and kind of all combined together is how I've been able to dive almost every other day, or pretty much every day, sometimes too.
That's impressive. So we know that yoga is good for the flexibility and the stretching and getting limber. What about when you said you did some of the personal training background? Do we need to be doing some like kettlebell swings or some kind of strength maintenance, or is it primarily just body weight work and just general health is enough for spearfishing?
I'd say doing a lot of the strength training is going to help you with like pulling your bands back and having easier time there. Strength training is going to help you with walking down the cliffs with your gear. Strength training is going to help with a lot of different aspects in your spearfishing game. I also, in addition to incorporating strength training with my workouts, I also include dynamic apnea training. So dynamic apnea is just holding your breath while moving. Right. So the way that we kick down and we dive, you're using your body. You're not just laying there and relaxing while you kick down, where you float down to the bottom. But in order to, I mix it up. So I like having a little bit of dynamic apnea, a little bit of strength training, and then the yoga with stretching. And the yoga also has a lot of mind tools that are more important than all of the exercises combined, I think.
Now, when you say some of the mind work, I've always thought, especially when I did some, do the line for free diving, it wasn't always the physical thing hurdles to get over, right? It was the mental strength to know that everything's going to be fine. You're going to be able to make it to your end goal. You shouldn't panic. What are your thoughts on can we improve like our mental toughness? I would say, how would you do that?
This is an interesting one. I would say one one really important tool that I practice and recommend almost, yeah, not almost, I would recommend anyone to do is to keep a gratitude practice up. And gratitude practice can be a journal. It could be uh, a time where you reflect on what gratitude means to you, or appreciation, thankfulness, because the more times we strengthen that mental connection to that experience, even right now, if you were to experience remembering something where you were feeling appreciation, maybe it was for someone or some event, and you relive it, as you're reliving it right now, you're going to feel a little lighter, a little warmer, a little more expansive, less contracted. And when your mind is in that state, you can achieve a lot more. You can feel a lot more relaxed. You can hold your breath a little bit longer. So, constantly developing your mind towards gratitude is one way that you can actually improve your breath hold, your diving, and your spearfishing.
That's huge. I think what I'm also hearing from what you're saying is that building up good habits will be what kind of over time allow you to achieve what you want to achieve. Because I've had a gratitude journal over the last probably 8 years. I haven't really been consistent at it. I feel good when I do it. I don't know why I can't just keep doing it. So I need to look at how to just be more consistent at these things that you and other people who are a lot more enlightened have recommended.
8 years is a great amount of time to be doing it. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I'm not happy with the number of instances over that 8 years in which I haven't been filling it out enough. But
Oh, there can
you
be
inspired me to
fun
do
ways.
it.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear it. And there could be fun ways to incorporate it. So if you have a partner, you can tell each other what you were grateful for during the day. If you're eating, dinner together, or you can make every day like Thanksgiving, being grateful.
Absolutely. I think you also mentioned, off the offline that you lived in Hawaii and you just had a lot of ocean time. Is it kind of like for jujitsu, we have a saying, it's no matter what you can learn by watching videos or talking about things, it doesn't matter unless you put time on the mat. Are you also seeing the same thing when it comes to like spearfishing? It's really putting the reps in the water all the time that you see the biggest benefit to your abilities?
I would say that was the number one piece of advice that was given to me when I first started is it's about time in the water, about how much time you can get in the water. And what I did was I just would go out. But yes, it is fortunate for me that before I started spearfishing, I was an ocean swimmer, and I've always been interested in being in the water. I did my graduate education at University of Hawaii, and when I wasn't studying, I was in the water just snorkeling. I didn't realize I was free diving, but I was kind of going down a little bit deeper, just checking out the fish. It's a beautiful place to explore the underwater scene. And then right before, I would definitely be in the ocean, just swimming and swimming. And I noticed that's actually how I got into spearfishing. Is when I get out of the ocean swimming. Right at the beginning of the pandemic, I saw some people coming out with spear guns and full wetsuits, and I said, "What are you guys doing?" And when they told me what it was, I had to use my curiosity to call up different places and find out what spearfishing was and how I could get into it and how I could try it right away because it looked really cool.
Absolutely. So I think you also mentioned offline that throughout this time in Hawaii and being in the water so much that you kind of discovered something called peak experiences and sacred time. Can you dive in a little bit into those concepts?
Yes, thank you. So my graduate study is in religious studies, and me it's interesting because I've always wondered how people experience faith. I've wondered how people experience these spiritual time, sacred time, and a lot of my studies has been around understanding that. And it's funny when you study something versus when you live something. It's almost as if there was this time where I would study and study and study what it was like for people to experience faith, like jumping off of a cliff. And I'd measure the distance of the cliff. I would measure the jump itself. I would talk to the people who were about to jump, but I wouldn't jump myself. So since I did a lot of study around peak experiences, uh, around sacred time, it was interesting for me to finally be able to incorporate that and understand that through yoga. And that's one of the tools that I teach is how to create that for yourself and personal ritual. And that's again something that I do cover in the breathe deep technique.
I think I want to wrap it up with you just seem like an overall curious person. How do you cultivate that kind of lifelong learning and stay motivated to do so? I feel like a lot of people that I know, once you find something of comfort, you kind of just stick to those patterns. But it seems like you're always willing to try something new and experiment. How do you keep such an open mind?
That's another good one. It's having that sense of adventure, I guess, and curiosity is knowing that once you've trained that muscle, the something that goes against your normal fear muscle, the thing that takes you out of your comfort zone, once you've trained yourself to do it a couple of times, you begin to look for those opportunities that bring you out of your comfort zone. And every time you stretch yourself and push yourself to another level, you just get excited about what new thing or what new experience within something that you're already pursuing, or there's a direction that you're going in, what it would look like once you got to the other side of something that you're actually fearful of. And there's a lot of times where I might, right before I'll take a trip to go to do something, I think, oh, why did I sign up for this? What have I done? And I think the important thing is to do it anyways, even if you're scared, to do it anyways. Uh, Curiosity will lead you to wondering, and then wondering will lead you to, will I be able to do it? And then just try it anyways. And even if you don't do it right the first time, I think that it's important to remember this or something better, because something that was meant for you is going to happen for you, and everything is happening for you.
All right, guys. So the rest of this week, we're going to be talking with Joy on a whole bunch of different topics around yoga, how she got to 131 feet in less than a year, and a bunch more. You can check out all of Joy's information at joyrika.com. That's JOYRIKA.com. I will also put links to the show notes. And until next time, stay safe out there. Thanks, Joy, for coming on. Hey, just one more thing before you go. Would you find it helpful to get a few fishing tips and tricks sent straight to your inbox? Well, if so, head over to castandspear.com/join and sign up for our weekly newsletter. Tight lines.